In August 2023 I visited North Devon, staying in Lynmouth where Exmoor meets the Bristol Channel. The cliffs here are part of the Hangman Formation, originally deposited 390 million years ago, predominantly in shallow water, but sometimes in a desert environment. A few miles west of here, at Great Hangman, they rise to over 1,000 feet, the highest sea cliffs in England. To the west of Lynmouth, these cliffs on which the goats are so comfortable are part of the 400 million year old Linton Formation. These are also mostly sandstone that was deposited underwater, but also include slates and mudstones. The cliffs are so high here because they descend from the top of a rock dome called a syncline, the northern half of which has been eroded away by the Bristol Channel. Here the landward face descends into the Valley of the Rocks, which was the original mouth of the River Lynn before erosion cut it off. Speaking of the River Lynn takes us to Watersmeet, a former fishing lodge owned by the National Trust. Watersmeet is where the East Lynn River and the Orehoke Water meet. They are fed by the Exmoor Hills, as were the romantic poets Wordsworth and Coleridge, who inspired the building of the lodge. The river valley is deep and steep, and the water cascading off of Exmoor can be very powerful in this confined space. Such is the power of the water that it provided hydroelectricity for the national grid until the 1950s. It also has a dark side. No glaciers have hollowed out the V-shaped river valley to dissipate the force of storm waters. Washed out debris dams also form and break, with, on the evening of 15th of August 1952, tragic consequences. It is estimated that 90 million tonnes of water rained down on Exmoor that day. It poured into the Lynn, accumulated where debris-clogged bridges held, then broke. Buildings were washed away in the flood and 34 lives lost. 114,000 tonnes of rubble were subsequently cleared from the small village of Lynmouth. The steep-sided valley also made it very difficult to move freight from Lynmouth up to Linton at the top of the hill. The solution is this: the world's highest and steepest water-powered funicular railway, which has been in continuous use since 1890. Next door to the Lynn Valley is the deeply beautiful valley of the River Hedon, leading to the isolated Smuggler's Cove of Hedon's Mouth. So isolated was this cove that it wasn't only used by smugglers. During World War II, a U-boat captain claimed that he let his crew come ashore here to collect fresh water and sunbathe. He didn't mention sun loungers. Great Hangman is just around the corner from here. Hangman is probably the joining of the Germanic word hang, which means slope, with mynd, which is the Brythonic word for hill. This is from the heights above Clovelly, several miles further into Devon. The streets of this old fishing village are so steep that sleds are used for transport. The hills and moors of southwest England, which comprise the syncline mentioned earlier, are the result of land being squeezed upwards when an old continent called Laurussia collided with another old continent called Gondwana to form a supercontinent called Pangaea about 250 million years ago. The ice ages of the last few 100,000 years didn't get south of the Bristol Channel, but the sea is cutting away at the sedimentary rocks of North Devon, giving the plunging coastline only rather picturesque deep coves. But there'll be a lot more worn out footwear before the coast is eroded as flat as here at Westward Ho.